I help people see themselves and connect with their truth. I didn't know that it was something that was special for me, that it was a gift, but I can remember being back at West Orange High School when I was growing up, and I connected with a friend, and she was going through a really tough time. She was depressed. I didn't know how to call it that then, but that's what she was dealing with. And there were a lot of dynamics happening in her house. She didn't know it at the time, but her parents were getting ready to get a divorce. She had a sibling who had some illness, and the parents spent a lot of time focusing on him. And she was just feeling so lost and unseen. And my connecting with her was able to see her. I could see what she was going through and help her understand that she had incredible value that she wasn't seeing in herself. And it's really cool because I'm still connected to her today, and I get to see some of the things that are happening in her life and how her understanding who she was and being able to recognize her value has morphed into what she does and the gifts that she gives to the world. And if I think back about my childhood, I was always able to see and connect with people. And fast forward, I have a client that I'm working with right now who is good. You know, all my clients are good, but they desire to be great. They want this life that's remarkable. And this client I'm working with right now is doing a good job where she is, but she keeps getting stuck. And in those places that she's getting stuck, when she connected with me, she's like, I just don't know how to get myself unstuck. And so we started really doing the deep work, the work behind the work, not just looking at her business, but looking at what was happening on the inside of her. Where was she continuing to find herself in this moment that she was getting stuck? And once we were able to identify those pieces, she's been able to flourish in her business. It's the transformation happening on the inside of her that creates the change. And that's what I help people do. I help them see where they're getting stuck so that they can move into the life they desire. So here it is, 2020, and I'm sitting in my dad's basement. And this is just not any occasion. I'm sitting there, I've lived there now, with my 2 kids. And I'm like, how did I get to this place? What happened? And if we rewind to earlier in the year, I know the world is going through a pandemic, but I was going through my own crisis. There I was after 16 years of being married. I married someone I deeply loved. We did all of the right things. We tried, we did counseling, everything. But I was clear that we were headed for divorce. I can remember sitting on my bed and I was sobbing, asking God, why? How did I get to this place? I mean, I had done all the right things. I prayed, we talked, we tried to do everything that we could, that we knew to do. Even when we got married, we had made the decision. We were one of those couples who were not going to allow divorce to even be an option on the table. Yet here I was, knowing I was about to say the words to him, I want a divorce. And that it would not only blow up my own life, but his and my children. And at the same time, I knew I had to do it because I was dying. I was suffering. I was overwhelmed. It was so hard. And then here I am, like, I know there's something else for me. I know that there is a bigger life waiting for me. And that's not the only thing that happened in that year. I changed jobs twice. And I had to move my kids with me to Atlanta. We literally got up one day after prayer, got in the car, and drove to Atlanta, where we then lived. And everybody's life was changing. So here I am in my dad's basement, like, why did I do this? How did I allow this to happen to me? This wasn't what was supposed to happen. This is not the life that I created for myself. This is not what I imagined. None of what I planned looks like this very moment. I don't understand why I'm here. But what I do know is I got to do something, and it has to be now. Perspective changes everything. It's one of the lessons that I've learned, and I live by it. But I was put to the test at the end of 2020. I got to tell you, I just remember this moment where I'm sitting in my dad's basement. My kids and I have moved. We're living there now. and everybody's remote. We had moved down from Chicago a few months earlier, and they're still doing remote school from Chicago. So they're on calls and video conferences and Zoom classes all day long. I'm on Zoom because I'm working remote as well. And I'm just trying to figure out, how did we get to this place? I mean, I've just gone through a divorce. I've changed jobs. Oh, and by the way, I left one job and came back to the company that I worked at before. I changed jobs in February of 2020. So here in less than a year later, I've changed jobs again, I'm divorced, I moved, and I'm living back with my dad, and I am in my mid-40s, and I'm like, wait a minute, how did I get to this place? And this thing about perspective kept coming up everywhere, over and over again. Matter of fact, one day I'm praying, and I'm reading Romans 8:28, that all things happen for the good of those who love God and are called according to his purpose. And this piece about perspective, I can't get away from it. It's like every message that I listen to is bringing me back to this place of perspective. And finally, it hits me. Life is happening for me. What if I change my perspective in this moment to recognize that this moment happened so that I can be who I'm called to be? What if my desire for this remarkable life that I know I'm supposed to be living is right in front of me, but I am just so deep in the depths of my despair that I can't even see it? And so I'm realizing that moment, if life is happening for me, then there's a shift that I get to make right here, right now. I get to do something different. I get to be the person that I'm called to be. I get to allow what it is that I'm experiencing to transform the way I see myself. And so I began the quest to build what I now call my remarkable life. There was a blessing that I had a place to go. There was a blessing that my kids could do remote school. We were able to make the shift that clearly God had planned for me, because it wasn't what I had planned for myself, and be on a path to creating something incredible. You know what I learned during that time? I learned how resilient I was. I learned that in the ways that I used to depend on myself and think that I had all the answers, that they truly came from God. I learned to have reliance on something so much bigger than myself. And I recognized there was power in the story of what I went through. That everything that I was experiencing was not just shaping me for my own life, but it would help prepare me to serve others. And quite honestly, what I took away from it is that I now can use anything that I have gone through the lesson that it taught me, but I don't have to hold on to the feeling or emotion that was attached to it. And I use that to fuel me as I build my remarkable life. If I could go back and talk to myself when I was 21, there are definitely some things I would want to make sure Anika knew. I mean, Anika was having a good time back at 21, partying, living in Jersey, going across the river to New York all the time, living it up, living life to the full. She was full of joy. And I know what I would say to her. I would tell her, keep that joy. Hold on to it because it is yours. I would tell her, you can have it all. The world is going to tell you that you can't, but you can. Not only can you have it all, but you can design your own remarkable life. That's what I would tell her. And I would remind her that she could be one who manufactured fear or faith, that she would get to choose. And I would tell her to choose wisely. I would say, Anika, you know, when you are studying, spending time in the emotions of what's happening in your life, you get to decide if you want to believe that it's happening for you or it's happening to you. I would make sure that I reminded her that the truth was on the inside of her and that no one could ever take that away from her. And I would warn her that the world will try because it has its ways, but that if she stays clear about who she is, that she can experience all that she puts her mind to in this life. For what is life if we are not willing to do the things that make us different and unique, to stand in the boldness of who we are, to build and design the life that we want to live? We don't have to live a life that looks like what everyone else's experience is. I would tell her, Anika, continue partying, having a good time, because life is meant to be experienced. It's meant to be joyful. I would warn her that sometimes we can get so caught up in what other people think we're supposed to do that we would do that instead of following the truth on the inside of us. I would encourage her to make sure she stayed on the path to living the life that she truly desired. That's what I would tell her. Let me tell you what I see going on in the world. People are so unfulfilled. And there is this significant amount of operating in a way that is so segmented. It's like part of them is over here and they show up in the next room and they got to leave part of what's happening in their life on the other side. They're not living what I consider to be a remarkable life. And people are afraid to heal. Quite honestly, they don't understand that on the inside of themselves are so many experiences beyond just what they have had happen to them in this lifetime. There are even things that are trapped in our DNA that are passed on from generations in the past. And sometimes that creates so much shame for us, we don't even know how to tap into those things because we're afraid to even say that they exist. But the truth is, in order for us to become who we are intended to be, we have to do that work. So for me, I am up to helping people heal. Like I coach and I'm an advisor and I have a healing community, but at the core of it all, it's about helping people get to the center of their truth, to know who they truly are, and to identify the things that are happening on the inside of them that are standing in the way of what they want, standing in the way of their having a remarkable life. You know, people want a remarkable life, and they don't even know what it means. But they're like, yes, I know that's the thing. That's what I'm supposed to experience. A remarkable life is one that is less ordinary. It's worthy of note. It's you looking back on your porch with your sipping your iced tea, looking back at what you accomplished in the life, looking at the legacy that you created and having such a sense of overwhelming pride. It's about you being in this position where you recognize I have joy because the way I show up every day allows me to be in the fullness of who I am. So in my work, I help people connect with that truth so that they can bring it to life. And then I help them identify the places in their business where they're not showing up as their true selves so that they can transform it. You see, we forget that who we are shows up wherever we go. And what that means is sometimes the issues and the problems that we have on the inside of us show up in the business. We might think that things are happening in our life outside of work, but we bring them right in. I have a client that I worked with who was going through a really difficult time in her marriage, and it began to show up in the way that she supported her clients. You would not have linked the two together because there was not a direct connection, but at the end of the day, her sorrow and the grief that she was experiencing were standing in the way of her showing up as her full self to be able to serve her clients. Once she was able to identify it, it didn't fix the grief of what was happening, but she was able to transform the way she showed up every day in the truth of who she was to connect with her clients and grow her business. That's what it looks like to have a remarkable life. It doesn't mean that everything has to be perfect all the time, but it means that you are super clear about what it is that you're creating. And you walk in it, you own it, you build it, and you live it. And I'm going to be here helping people do that because that's what I'm called to do. Why do people hire my company and work with me? Quite honestly, it's because they want a remarkable life. They want to experience a transformation and change. They want to get themselves unstuck. My clients are typically spiritually curious and they want to be connected with the truth of who they are on the inside because they recognize that what gets in the way are things that they are not able to see and navigate through themselves. You see, the truth is always on the inside of us. We just don't always know how to get to it by ourselves. Sometimes we just need help getting to that place. I have a client that I work with right now. I've been working with about 6 months and she's amazing. And when she first came to me, she was having a difficult time seeing herself. She had a significant decision that she had to make on behalf of her business that would change the trajectory of what was happening in her life path. And every time we'd have a conversation, she would be so clear, and then we would go away and she would come back like, I still haven't made the decision. And so what we identified is we couldn't just look at what was happening on the outset of the business decision. That was the obvious piece. But there was a misalignment going on inside of her that kept bringing her back to this place where she could not figure out the right way to go. And I was able to help her navigate through that decision. She actually has made the decision and has 2 businesses now, moved out of corporate America, and is a very successful entrepreneur. It's amazing to see the transition that's happened in her life as a result of the work that we do. I help people get unstuck. And clearly, we've all been there. We've all had the moments. I've had my share of moments where I was stuck. But it was coming back to the truth on the inside of me and being bold enough to stand in it that helped me create the transformation in my life. And that's what I do with my clients. My clients also come to me because they understand that I am anointed to help people heal. My community, the Healing Crusade, helps people to heal individually and as a collective. And we do it in a fun and exciting way that helps take some of the fear out of doing the introspective work that's required in order to heal. So that's what I do in my business, and that's why people come work with me. At the end of the day, it really is about creating a remarkable life, and I'm on a quest to help more people live that way. It's not by accident that my method of coaching is called integration coaching, because what I do is I help people integrate their lives so they don't feel like they have to show up as a shell of themselves everywhere they go. And of course, we ground it all in their truth of who they are. That's what's different about working with me. And I'm excited about what is to come, because I know through the work that I do, it is quite frankly going to help change the world. More love and light will always be welcome in a world like ours. This experience has been amazing. First and foremost, every single detail has been well thought out. I have such peace in doing what gets us all anxious on the inside of us, because everything is just planned out so expertly. You show up, everyone's ready, they're attentive to the details. I know that I have been taken care of well today. And this has been a great experience. I would do it all over again and again. And I'm so grateful for this team and the level of expertise and the professionalism that is here.